Alright, so yeah, this is the explaining video for two songs actually, or sets of songs. Sunrise Surprise most recently, but also, what was the other one? How do you say? Oh gosh, oh yeah, Dry Lightning. Lots of stuff happening these days, eh? Power outages, evacuations, lockdowns. Anyways, so yeah, see if I can trace some of the sense of this again here in real time before I dismantle it for some new projects. A couple other modules to install. Looking forward to this max min analog generalization of the OR and AND functions. So anyways, we'll put them right in here. But I'm going to need to rearrange some stuff to do that. So this has all got to get unplugged. Hence the explanation video before I do so. I don't imagine I'll be explaining everything here. It's of course grew to be more and more complicated as time went on. I guess I could say first of all, this vocoder was the guilty party in creating that lovely robotic voice for the Sunrise Surprise. There was also a Dry Lightning lyrics there. There were lyrics for that, but I decided that it was best without them. So we're just gonna go without them. And anyways, you can see there's some connections back in here. See all of them. At any rate, this here is being fed MIDI. Of course, again, these explanations are for myself mostly. If in case I ever wondered how I did that, I can actually watch something explaining how I did that. But yeah, this is MIDI. For example, in the Sunrise Surprise, playing this here D pitch, on a monotone basis with these settings. Well, you can't see that because it's all off right now, but that's basically the way it was. It's the way it is. At any rate, but yeah, my usual settings for the lower and upper, as well as the ensemble. Gotta have that on, it feels like, every time, all the time. All the male, all the female, all the ensemble, all that good stuff. Anyways, yeah, getting fed MIDI through here. Dry Lightning melodic lyrics were much more intricate than just a single monotone thing. But it's captured well enough in the bass line, I feel, so we're moving along with that one too. Anyways, so those are all getting fed into various places from here. I guess we're starting with this after all. So yeah, for example, this is going into something, a knuckle over here is what I'm playing with, and yeah, and it's actually contributing to, as it turns out, what's happening over here in the crave. Can't read that at all. Okay, well, what you would be reading, if you could read it at all, is external audio into the crave. And that's one of these guys. And another one of these guys here, let's see if we can trace this one. Yeah, that's going into the Fusion mixer, Erica Synths. Love this thing. Imparts that lovely tube factor onto any sound, really. And yeah, so that's the main stuff going on with that. So you can see there's more to it than just that, but maybe I'll leave it at that. And also, gosh, Trigger Riot as usual. These are all off at the moment. I suppose I could have turned them on for you. More exciting. But oh well. I've already started, so I'll keep going. So you can see, for example, this first row here, the yellow cable, it's getting fed around in here into this jack, which is kind of buried underneath all of this stuff here. You can see that at all. But yeah, and then so it's going off, being fed by a couple of things and going into different things from here. I call them jacks. They're technically called knuckles. At any rate, this is the second neutron, as I referred to it, and it's going right into there. So that is actually a molt, so a multiple, and those molts are going into, so I can grab a hold of a couple of them here, there being two of them after all. Let's see, there's a molt, and gosh, it really is kind of hard to trace around through this. Oh my gosh. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's going into the envelope gates, basically, for both of the oscillators on the neutron. And it's actually probably first going into the attenuation, as I recall. Yeah, it looks at, yep. So, that kind of thing. At any rate, so there's that. So again, that's coming from over here, which is generally speaking, polyrhythmic pulsation of sorts coming from that row there. And the other two rows from the Trigger Riot are giving similar sorts of structures, rhythmic structures that is, although these are going into the DLD, the dual looping delay of the 4MS modules, and they are triggering the hold A and hold B on the inputs A and B. Well, actually, there's only one input here that's into A, and it's being, as I recall, doubled. Yeah, so the out, if one is going into the other, or it was at one point in time. Yes. At any rate, at this point in time, it's only the one. And while we're on the subject of the 4MS, I notice it is being pinged by the Tempe channel 1, which was set to a multiple rather of the clock output of, and this is the pink cable I'm trying to trace here. Let's see, where is this? Got these extra long cables so that I could, reach them up to my synthesizer rack, which is quite nice and lovely and all. And they all have their own CV capabilities. It's a work in progress, but it's progressing. So that's nice. At any rate, this one is being pinged. Oh, am I tracing that incorrectly? Gosh, lights on and everything. No, that's channel 2, pardon me. Channel 2 from the Tempe is coming out into, well, I'm on this already. Let's see, where's that on the vid? There's the hand. Okay. Alright, so it's going right into there, which is the LFO trig. So it's the LFO trigger. So this is triggering the LFO again on the neutron 2. See, there's two neutrons. So the one below is neutron 2. Above is neutron 1. In case anyone other than myself is following it. No, in fact, this is actually being pinged, you can see. Or pinged, but pardon me. Clocked, rather. The Trigger Riot is clocking the tempo input, the Tempe. So, and where is this input coming from, you might ask? What's triggering this one? Good thing to ask. Well, let me check for you here. All of you in the hypothetical. Gosh, well, I want to say that it's coming from this guy here, the Arteria key step, which was being fed MIDI. So it's So there's a bit of a mess over there. Probably shouldn't show too much of that on vid. Under construction and all, but from the computer. And was otherwise inactive for the most part here for Sunrise Surprise. And yeah, most all the rest of the MIDI commands actually came out of the computer through this powered MIDI hub and into various places from there, including the aforementioned vocoder. So yeah, right. And so that's the idea on that then. Notice also the trigger riot, before we leave that subject behind. The columns are being fed and into, sorry, horrible camera work there. But yeah, it's long wires, but long story short, they're coming in over here into the sponde. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that properly, but there you go. It's from IO Instruments, I believe is how you say that, but again, I could be saying that wrong too. Anyways, and what's happening here is that the gates, which are basically 0 or 1 type things, right, signals, either off or fully on. These right here, faders are basically attenuating those gates. So instead of being full on at all times, it's taking this thing and making it more like there, and this next gate maybe a little bit up higher, and so on. So you're getting that nice sort of, well, something useful for, say, pitch or frequency control. And in fact, that's what it is doing. For example, this first output here is going into, I dare say, yep, the very first oscillator input of the first neutron. So this guy, right there. And the second one, you might have guessed, is in fact, the second one is going into the second oscillator. So that guy, right there. And so on and so forth. So the third, actually that's not quite correct. The third oscillator does go as expectedly to, I believe it does, as I recall, the first oscillator over here on the second neutron, which you'll notice there's no second oscillator input there. So exactly where that fourth thing went, I'm as curious to know as you are. Where did that go? Wait, that's the fourth one. Oh, wait, what? Okay, that's the fourth one going to the third. But then what's the third one going to? I'll just figure this out with you here, live before your uninterested eyes. Okay. Well, if you're watching it still, I guess you have some interest in it. It's morbid curiosity. It's going into the LFO rate. The LFO rate. It's being controlled by this third guy there. And again, that's coming from these respective column outputs of the trigger riot. Cool. And so what, might you ask, was the sort of initial impetus, motivation for, say, Sunrise Surprise? Well, glad you asked. It's this here module, the Axis, from WMD. It's really quite a lovely module. I got it because not only does it do a sort of stereo mixing for, like, say, switching off between two performers live, which is kind of neat. Wouldn't mind using it for that someday. But I got it because it has doubled stereo inputs. I might be saying this incorrectly somewhere. It might actually have more than that. But anyways, I used it specifically for its cross-fading abilities, because you can, you know, twist this knob, but you can also send it a CV. So that's lovely. Because what you can do is you set it audio rate CV, and I did that coming from the Crave over here, and that gives this Axis the power to use that crossfader as, or one or more of them, as essentially analog wave splicer. And those sounds were coming from Looks like this was the one that was doing the, yeah, so that's from the Crave, that's doing the crossfading. But over here we have, yeah, some oscillators coming into here, and those are coming out of these synths over here. Notice the intentional ambiguity in that statement. But we've got one of them here, one of them there, and this is crossfading between those signals so fast that you're actually hearing one sound finish the thought of a second sound in real time, and having that beautiful wave splicing sound, analog style. Of course, there's only two waves being spliced, but on the other hand, they're analog. So that's cool. And yeah, and so this is the guilty culprit. I don't know why that's coming up there, but there you go. Of the wave splicing itself, the LFO and such coming from here to control the crossfading slash wave splicing. Cool. And let's see what else. Well, I guess I should say, aside from the vocoder sound coming out of that vocoder, PC340, beautiful synth. At any rate, we also have the sounds of both neutrons. Those are kind of coming out as a sort of minimalist melody type thing. But they're also going through this here wave splicer, which itself is coming out as a separate sound. So we have the two separate and the amalgamation. And at some point or another, things are getting also a bit of wave shaping going on. So, yeah, this being the flex shaper. It's really quite a lovely module, seeing as how you have CV control over every single parameter, which is kind of awesome. So, yeah, usually these are kind of set automatically for you, and you can control maybe one of them. This has control over literally every single parameter in this sort of sound sculpting device. That's why I picked it. That, and it's got a great price. Okay, cool. Anyway, so that happened at some point, and that sound came out into the overall mix as well. And yeah, so that's mostly what's happening with this. You can see there's a bit of logic going on here. Not too much. I just took one of the signals here from, you can see, looks to be, well, I'm just not even going to bother checking. But yeah, no, it is the first one. So I just noticed it. Going into just one of the logic inputs. So I'm not using the B input at all, but I'm actually using it just to get the NOR signal out of the thing. So this being an OR-based processor, essentially, so I can get the opposite signal from here just by doing that. Which is the least of its abilities, true, but there you go. And I also have the inverted shape coming out of here, which is rather similar, but there you go. Alright, and let's see, anything else? Well, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, there's just a slight subtle amount of envelope shaping going on, and yet that adds a very nice touch to the overall intricacies of what is heard. Absolutely love this C4000 module from Tip Top Audio already. Very likely to get a second one, at least, as time continues. So, at any rate, that is pretty much it. I mean, if I'm not going to explain everything else going on here, which I might not, but suffice it to say, most of this is what you would do for some basic functions of what I do, and there's other stuff. Yeah, I know, great detail here. Other stuff, more particular to these two pieces, and that's pretty much the gist of it. aside from what's going on here digitally, there were also what's going on here in the analog world here. There is also digital drums composed directly into the DAW. And both of these, the Dry Lightning as well as the Sunrise Surprise pieces, were based on a combination of composition and improvisation. Truth be known, I went ahead and, fiddled with some knobs here and there to find some sweet spots, get a sense of the evolution of the piece as I were to perform through the whole thing. So it's a bit of a performance type thing as well, but with a certain freedom of improvisation, and that varies from take to take, and as to how much freedom is exercised and how much composition religiousness is practiced. At any rate, that's the gist of it. That and the beautiful in the eye of the beholder spaghetti mess here. For me, it's lovely. For me, I like it. And, I'm not as compelled to, clean it up too much because, I'm just going to literally take it apart now and put some more modules in. Things are just happening in such a quick flux here that there's almost no sense to making this too much neater. That said, there you go. Pretty much it. Cool. Yeah.